Hello, welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London, UK. You can find me also on Instagram and Ravelry as Skeindeer. And we have a Ravelry group, please join. I will mention this group a bit more throughout this episode because there is stuff going on there. But yeah, for now, there's a Ravelry group. It's called Skeindeer Knits. Please join. And this episode might be up on Thursday. I'm hoping it will be, and you might wonder why, because my episodes are usually up on Fridays. Well, I'm hoping to change that because Thursday uploads make more sense to me. Long story short, I tend to be at university specifically on those days, and they have a faster uploading rate. You know, the difference being 20-minute upload versus the whole day. So that's the reason. So it might be Thursdays from now on, whether it's including this episode or not. You'll know, I won't. Before we get started, I just really want to thank you for buying my mitten kits. I know there were only 10 of you, because there were only 10 kits, but wow, they sold out within the day, within a working day. That was so exciting, and I hope they have reached you by now. I mean, the ones overseas probably haven't actually, but yeah. And if you do receive them, I strongly recommend that you redeem your PDF download soon, because it does expire. I've not seen anyone do that yet, and I know some people have received their kits already. Also, if you have received them, I'd be super happy if you just tell me, because I'm like, oh god, what if mine doesn't? I don't know. It's just nice to know. So yeah, do redeem your code on Ravelry. So I gave you a code, I just wrote it down by hand, so if you can't read it, just ask me. It should be fine, and you just put your mitten pattern in your cart, use that code, you get it for free. So that's your PDF download in case maybe something happened with the printout that I gave you, or you just want to have it for later because you keep losing your patterns, which I can relate to. So just want to get that out of the way, and thank you all so much again. And I am really sorry for those of you who wanted a kit and didn't get one. I can't promise I'm gonna do this again because it took a lot longer, a lot more time than I thought it would, and I've got other things to do that unfortunately are more important. But maybe in the very distant future, when I don't know. We're going to talk about this pattern a bit more, but for those of you who are disappointed that you didn't get the kit, you can still download the pattern on Ravelry. I think it's like £4 altogether. You get it for less if you are in a country that doesn't require VAT. And I have an announcement about this pattern later, so just hang in there. Okay, I swear we're gonna get started soon, but I also want to thank you for the warm feedback after my last video. I did get a bit personal, and that's super scary on the internet, because the internet can be a bit sort of, you know, scary. So yeah, thank you for that. I know it's like, it's not the coolest thing to say that you struggle with these and that things, those things, but you guys were very understanding, and a lot of you found it relatable, and that's kind of what I was not hoping to hear, but expecting. I think a lot of people experience this type of rejection and loneliness, and it's not cool to talk about because, you know, it's cooler to be accepted and like social and outgoing. And I also just, my emphasis with sharing that was just saying that, wow, 2016 changed my life. That was cool. Thank you 2016 for at least treating me well. One thing I'm really excited about announcing, in case I haven't already, I may have mentioned it in like episode 1 or 2 or 3 or something, but I haven't talked about it since, and that's that I'm going to Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I planned this for ages, but I actually got around to buying my train tickets now. I got my Edinburgh tickets when I was in the cabin in Norway. I was like on my little phone internet, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this ticket. I actually got a ticket for both days, which is crazy. I'm gonna get so broke. The downside is that I think I'm gonna have to miss out on Unravel, because if I go there as well, that's insane. So Edinburgh Yarn Festival, see you there. I'm also gonna go up a bit earlier, I think, just to explore Edinburgh, because I've only been to Edinburgh for 2 hours in 2015. That's all the time I was given before we have to move on. So I want to do that, and then it's the festival in the weekend, and then I'm gonna go out to see a friend in the countryside in Scotland the week after that, and it's gonna be such a awesome week. Now, I got this really good question in the Ravelry group that I want to shed more light on, or at least repeat here so that I can reach more people, because this is something I thought about a great deal, and that's, how do I make colourwork socks fit? Because the floats should make them tighter, right? Colourwork makes it tighter. Do I add more stitches? And this ties in with the bigger problem I have, that, you know, there are a lot of sock knitters out there, a lot of sock knitting podcasters, and they are much better at making socks than me, by all means. I never make vanilla socks, and I am in the place now where I'm actually going the other way around, where I'm wondering, how do I make vanilla socks fit? How are they just not gonna get huge? But having said that, about many other podcasters who are knitting socks a lot, the way they approach it sometimes bothers me a bit. There's no right or wrong in knitting. I don't want to be like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, you should be that. There are good ideas and bad ideas, that's what I want to say. People are not doing wrong things. I just think it's a less good idea to start experimenting with stitch counts unless you are trying to achieve a different size. What you should be focusing on is gauge. It's not your tension. Your tension is fine, but you should choose the right needle size. And if you find that something gets too tight, you may not have to alter the pattern. And if you do color work, you can't, because the chart is only so big and you want it to add up, assuming that it does add up in the pattern. And playing around with stitch size is probably the easiest way for you to get your head around how to make the pattern fit you. And obviously different patterns, they operate in sizes in terms of stitch counts, but if you just want to adapt a, you know, average female size sock to you, and assuming you have average size female feet, what do? And yeah, you should make sure your needle size is right. If you find that you have a gauge of, I don't know, 30 stitches per 10 centimeters on needle size 2.5, but then you do color work and you find that it's a lot tighter, don't change your stitch count, don't add more stitches, go up a needle size. And I want to say this whether you do color work socks or not, and I feel very strongly about this, which is a bit weird, but if you're just gonna alter your stitch count because you find that your gauge is too loose, you're still gonna have a too loose gauge, you're just gonna have fewer stitches. And yeah, you're gonna knit up your socks wonderfully quickly, but if you're aiming for negative ease and a loose like gauge, your socks are gonna wear out. I'm sorry. So I suggest sticking to the sort of usual about average 30 stitches per 10 centimeters. Some socks are a bit below that, maybe 28. Some are a bit above, like 32-ish, but generally around that. Stick to that gauge. Try to choose a needle size that works, that gives you that gauge. For me, it's needle size 3 because I'm a crazy tight knitter. I tend to go needle size 3 for color work bits and plain stocking net in a color work sock. I don't bother with going back and forth. They don't, it's just, they differ by like 2 stitches per 10 centimeters. I can live with that. So that's one thing I really want to emphasize. If you want to have a go at colourwork socks, you make sure you knit to gauge. And if you find that it's actually your foot size that is different from the pattern, then of course you need to play around with stitch counts and the number of rows and like chart repeats that you do. But that's kind of a different issue. For the purpose of fitting colourwork socks, make sure you're at gauge. And the other thing you need to remember is there is no negative ease in colourwork. Nope. The floats will not allow it. They will be fairly tight, not super tight. They shouldn't like pull in on like the pattern that your colourwork creates, but they will not allow for any negative ease. They will not stretch out the way a vanilla sock tend to, which I need to find out how much they do, because I'm gonna do vanilla socks and I'm like, oh god, they're gonna turn out huge and baggy. But yes, having said that about the difference between a colourwork gauge and a stocking net gauge, if you find it's too different, you might actually have to change throughout your socks. But I don't know anyone who has to do that, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just make sure you need to gauge with the colourwork, and then if the stocking net's a bit looser, then it's fine. I just want to finish this little rant. Hopefully it was educational, not just me going on about my strong opinions about stuff and things. I want to finish off by saying that eventually, you know, just like with vanilla socks, you will get to a point where you know what fits you. I can now look at a colourwork sock pattern and I can see, that's on the gauge of like 32-ish stitches per 10 centimeters, and it has around 70 stitches, maybe like 68 sort of. So I just know to use a needle size 3 because that's the needle size I need to get that gauge with colourwork. And you know, I can try on my sock and see if it fits. I may have to knit it for a bit longer. That tends to happen. I'm, I guess, slightly on the like larger foot size end of average women's feet. I don't know, like 39, 40 European. I think that's like a UK 7. So that's where you're gonna end up anyway. You know, it's not gonna be a big sort of mind twist every time you do colourwork socks. You make maybe 2 pairs and you will know after having worn those pairs, and you know how they suit you, and then you can just make more. And that's kind of what I've done. I've not actually made that many colourwork socks. It's just that I was successful with my second pair. My first pair I did on needle size 2.75 and they fit just right. My second pair I did in needle size 3 and they're perfect. Okay, shall we get into finished objects? I just realized I was supposed to wear my finished object at the beginning of the video and I didn't, apparently. My mind is all over the place, so let me just show you. I have actually not weaved in the ends yet, because this is like a reoccurring theme. So didn't I show you this last time? Well, last time it was like a scarf that I could get around my head, you know, 4 or 5 times. And now my Duchess of Devonshire shawl, which is knit in woolen vines, Outlander base, it's perfect. It's exactly how it should be. It's a bit long still, but you know, it's fine. Just wear it like this, and this is exactly how it should be, and this is what I wanted it to be. But I'm just gonna put in my first blocking picture where I just like slightly overconfident maybe, or just ignorant of blocking techniques, just pinned it on my carpet floor, and it's not the best idea. It's not like there's anything bad with it, but for this kind of shawl I would say it's almost mandatory to have blocking wires. I know lots of people say that blocking wire is never necessary, you know, you can block it still. And maybe that's possible, but that's certainly not the case for me. So I eventually got my own blocking kit. I ordered it shortly after the last episode and it got in my mail, and I had time to block it and dry it before my birthday. So I've been wearing this proudly on my birthday, which was on Sunday. And this is definitely going to be the theme of the episode, everything that was related to my birthday. So starting with this shawl, these are my blocking wires. They're long, like they go down to the floor up to here. This is what I look like when I block them properly. So you can see the difference. I'm just gonna compare them both, and it's kind of embarrassing. The first picture is just really embarrassing. But I'm still wondering, because this is still kind of prone to stretching out the way it did the first time around. It's just that I'm very careful about how I wear it. Is it a good idea to slip the first stitches after all? Do you remember the previous shawl I was talking about where I had done that and the edge was super tight across? Well, that has served as a very good backbone for my shawl so that it doesn't do what this one did the first time around. Should I do that still? Like, what do you experienced shawl knitters think? Clearly not the most experienced shawl knitter still, but I made quite a few now, and it's kind of cool to try out the things that other podcasters are doing and the sort of knitting trends online. But I also feel like, and this is something I feel like I should say, because I feel like I'm a bit of a fraud when I do this, and that's a strong word, but I have advertised myself on this podcast as someone who knits colourwork and it's traditional and it's the sort of thing that you get from Norway. And then I come here and I keep doing this and I have a scrap blanket that people do here. I'm thinking about making more socks, more non-colourwork socks, and I've been buying more of those yarns that are far too expensive for me. And I was like, I still do advertise the pure wools, those are my favorites, and I also think you can go with affordable commercial yarns. And now I keep using hand-dyed yarns a lot. You know, this is woolen vines, this is a shawl and not, you know, a colourwork yoke or mitten. And I feel like, oh god, I tricked people into watching these videos and I'm not doing any of the things that I promised. Which is of course not true. I just want to try out everything, and I'm still gonna do colour work, and because that's what I love. I don't know how much I would have been knitting if colour work didn't exist, you know. That's what's drawing me to knitting. So that's just something I've been feeling a lot lately, that I should be making this kind of thing that I promised that I would make, but that's of course a very bad way of approaching knitting, and it's like a sure way to end up in a knitting slump. It's kind of a similar thing that, you know, people have in booktube, where they feel like they should read the books that everybody else is reading, and then they end up not wanting to read. It's like that, but the other way around, where I feel like I promised kind implicitly to do other things, and now I'm doing what everybody else is doing, whilst also saying, you know, podcasting YouTube, knitting podcasting YouTube is too, like, similar to, just too much of the same stuff. And I do still feel like that way. But of course it's because these things are super fun to make, and I want to try that at least. So I guess what I want to conclude this with is that I'm not going to stop doing colour work. It's my favourite thing. I'm working on colour work mittens, and I got some cardigans planned. I even have a skirt that I want to do in colour work. So yeah, don't worry, I'm just doing different things. I want to be an all-rounder in knitting, so that's kind of what's going on now. Another thing that I made that everybody else and the dog has made is a pussy hat. So I talked about this last episode, and of course finished it in time for Saturday when we were having a women's march. And it's so cute. And I was like, I couldn't remember what this reminds me of, but actually it reminds me of that little cat shooter in Plants vs Zombies. I don't know if anyone you play that. I don't really play video games much, but that's one of those games I keep coming back to. And it's so much fun. And there's a little cat that you can put in the swimming pool. That doesn't make sense for any one of you who doesn't play this, but you can put it in the swimming pool and it can shoot little arrows in any, like, column where the zombies come in. Usually it's just like one plant per column. You can only shoot the zombie in that column. Cats shoot everywhere, and they shoot down the flying balloon guys, and they're awesome, and they can even shoot backwards if there's someone sneaking up behind them. So that's not what I was gonna cover with this hat. So yeah, this is a Quince & Co. Lark hat. The colorway is sorbet, which is like, I want to eat this hat, honestly. But yeah, it was not the most fun knit. It's very straightforward. If you literally just started knitting, you can do this. And I spoke to someone who was like, oh yeah, I feel like I could do that because you just knitted back and forth, and that seems doable. Otherwise hats seem too difficult for me. And I'm like, no, it's way easier to knit it in the round. Of course there's like subjective factors there, but it's easier. You don't have to worry about edges, you don't have to worry about turning it around, you don't have to even worry about where you started. Forget about stitch markers, who's gonna care if you finish your hat in a different place where you started. My hat finishes at the back of my head, whereas actually it started at the back of my head, but I had to cast on here, so, you know, I didn't bother with that. You literally just knit around and you measure how long you gotten, just like you do when you knit back and forth. So if anyone out there is scared of knitting in the round, I promise you it's easier. I myself didn't like knitting until I started knitting in the round. Oh, I just want to talk about Saturday. It was such a good day. I walked so much. I was exhausted. But yeah, it was fun. I was walking with some fellow knitters. There was a little dog in the crowd even. And I saw the poster that Ian McKellen was holding up with the Patrick Picard going face palm. But I didn't see him. But I saw the poster like very close to me. I could have easily seen him if I just like lowered my gaze a little. But yeah, very fun once we actually started walking, which was like after 2 hours of standing there. And there were so many good signs, and it was really nice to see that there were signs for other things than just women's right, even though like women's right was the whole purpose and definitely something I would be there for. But there was signs about, you know, tolerance and against racism and LGBT people, and lots of good things. It was for everybody, and yeah, I like that. So that's really my only finished project, that hat and a finally successful blocking of this shawl, which I really should give credit to Katie of Vincent number 23, because she's the first one who combined this yarn and this shawl and just boasted about it so much. I was like, yeah, I need it. I'm convinced. So let's move on to whips, because I've not finished my bee mittens yet. I'm ashamed. But I did finish the hands themselves last night, so I'm working on the first thumb. This is the first mitten hand with a thumb that's almost done. If I just knitted a bit on these last night, they would have been done today. And I do worry a little that I'm not going to be able to show you when they're done, because they are for my boyfriend's birthday on the 13th of January. And it's not the 13th anymore, is it? So, but yeah, look at this one. Look at this. It's his name. So, it originally says Biotch, which is like not something he was very keen on. He's been saying it again and again that he doesn't want to just say that, and I'm like, it's not. I didn't tell him he's gonna say Olaf. So, designed by Drunk Girl Designs on Ravelry. She's got lots of really cool cheeky mitten patterns that are stranded, that has a lot of awesome typography and just fun animal themes sometimes, and these are no exception. I love them and definitely want to have a go at her designs in the future. The only thing you should be aware of is that they're huge. These are kind of weird because they are not too long, but they're definitely too wide. Same for my boyfriend. We don't have that different hands actually. The problem with that, he's gonna be able to wear them still. I think the reason for that is because I'm using short circulars. They tend to make my work shorter and wider, which is not like, it's kind of a tension issue, but not really, because if it just made me knit at a larger gauge, fair enough, I need to go down a needle size, but it makes it shorter. If it was a large gauge, it would make it longer, but it makes it shorter and wider. It's really, really weird, and it's not pulling on the stitches, and that's not the reason. I don't know what's going on, but these mittens are just awesome anyway, so I just want to show you one more time, because I might not be able to do it later. So, yay! Oh, I forgot, the yarn is by Woolly Knits. It's just a like Merino Four Ply Classics, I think it's called. I bought it in Woolly Knits, and I keep saying it's in Oldham, I think it is, in the UK. And I said it before, it's the best yarn shop experience I have ever had. It's just the perfect place out in the countryside, like an old factory that's being remade into a cafe and knitting shop. And that's all it is. It's just yarn and cakes and coffee. It's just, I was so happy there. It was so good. And of course, the pattern that me and everybody else is working on. And again, this is one of those cases where I feel like, oh god, I'm doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. Why would you watch this one than anyone else's? I can't give you an answer to that this time around. I just hope that my Find Your Fade is like the best one. I don't know. So I'm on the 4th color now, which should technically be the 5th, but I'm doing the first color twice because it's just too small otherwise. Let's just start with the beginning. So this is where the brown should actually cover 2 colors. But why would I do that? I love this brown. I want it to cover more surface area of this shawl. So it is. Let's just get close up. Lace isn't too beautiful when it's not blocked, but you know how it is. So this sort of cream color with gold speckles. I was a bit disappointed to find that the speckles weren't that frequent, so it doesn't really fade into the gold that much. I knew it wouldn't fade into the brown, but I was hoping it would fade into the gold a bit better. Yet it doesn't. So here we are, and now this gold is fading into a more rusty color, although ironically it's the gold that's called rust. And it's gonna later fade into this red that I have here. And all of these yarns are by these French people that I'm not going to pronounce the name of because that's just rude if I can't do it right. My only concern is that I need 80 grams for the second to last color and 50 grams for the last color, whereas I only have one skein for that. 100 grams skein for 130 grams of yarn. I have no idea how to solve this. I might have to crack open my Hedgehog Fibers Poison, which has more pink to it, which I guess is a logical transition, going from the more orange bits to the more blue tones. But it's not the Merino singles, and that makes me a bit nervous because of reasons. I want this to be like the same base all over. So if it was a different dye, I'd be fine with it, but I don't want it to be a different base, and it's their soft base, not their skinny singles. And I also want to use that yarn for something else, so now I don't know what to do. might head up to Knit with Attitude and see if they have some skinny singles and hedgehog fibers, but they're so expensive and I've got so much yarn and I keep buying and I have a problem. So this is what we have now. It's a humongous shawl. Huge, huge, huge. And it's gonna be bigger. Like, I'm like halfway through, really. It's already gigantic. But yeah, I'm really in love with these colors. This is like one of those cases where I've been obsessing about, like, oh, this is the best project I could do for this absolutely perfectly dyed yarn. Is it the best? It has to be the best. And I'm like, stop it, just cast it on, knit it into whatever shawl you want. Sorry, I got hair all over my face. So yeah, it's probably relatable to a lot of people to just sit there with really, really nice yarn, but you're so scared to cast it on because what if it's not the perfect project? It has to be perfect, and eventually, you know, you end up not knitting it, and that's not good. So I just decided, you know what, there's a fade KAL, we're gonna do it. And now there is actually a other KAL coming up by Helen Stewart, the Mr. Knit Along, that's called Snow Melt, and I have got yarn for it. But we'll get back to that when I do my sort of haul for this episode, because it's quite a big haul. But what I want to talk about before that is this announcement that I hinted to at the beginning of the episode, and that's that we're doing a KAL. I was like thinking initially, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we did a KAL for my mittens, because I made a pattern, why not? But then I thought, oh, well, who's, you know, gonna, what if nobody buys the pattern? And well, you know how I think. And people have, of course, bought the pattern. I've sold 10 kits and people have bought the pattern on Ravelry. There are people with the pattern who probably intend to knit it. So we're doing a KAL for it because that's like the least I could do. And it's going to be a KAL with prices. I'm going to list you the rules now. So I seem to have misplaced my mittens, but the first rule is that there has to be these mittens. I made them into different kinds of colours. The first I knit up in Susan Crawford's Excelana DK, and the other one I knit up in Blackie Yarn's Falkland Islands. And between the two, I would definitely recommend using Susan Crawford's Excelana. Of course, if you have the kit, I'll definitely recommend that yarn by Rauma. But in general, if you have a pure wool DK yarn, a preferably non-superwash, non-merino, that's the best. Make sure it's a little bit on the sticky side. It doesn't mean it's going to be super scratchy. The Susan Crawford yarn is definitely not scratchy, but scratchy yarns are good. It's better to use the sort of sticky yarn. It doesn't have to be scratchy. Excelana is not scratchy at all, I'd argue. Use a Bluefest ester by all means, but merino is just a tiny bit too slick. I mean, I've done a lot of colour work in merino, so you're more than welcome to if you want to. It's not bad, it's just that there are better yarns if you want like the ultimate mittens. I mean, that pillow is in merino, like I've got a whole jumper in colour work merino. So do what you want, but like I just want to say what I recommend. And of course I recommend the yarn that I put in the kits, but I understand it's difficult to get hold of for a lot of people, so really any DK yarn will do, but I'm just saying some yarns are more suitable for colour work than others, and a non-superwash pure wool is definitely the yarn to go for. So anybody can take part in this knit along, whether you have bought the kit or not. The pattern is on sale on Ravelry and I have a code for it, and you can find that in the Ravelry group. You don't even have to be a member to see the code, but I would be happy if you join as well. And so the other rules are to post your progress in the thread. So for that, I guess you would have to be a member. But I want to see how you get on with it. And I mean, you're free to ask for any help or advice or like just recommendations. You can use that thread for anything to do with this KAL and this pattern. The price draw, however, is going to be either from a finished objects thread if I choose to make it. If I don't choose to make it, I will draw it from the projects that are registered to that pattern. So you have to, regardless, you have to make a project page for it on Ravelry that you link to my pattern. It really, really helps me as a new designer to have lots of knitters who have done my pattern, so that people can see, oh, I like these mittens, I wonder if anyone's made them. Ooh, lots of people have. Or it's only been 3 and 2 of them is this designer. You know, it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference for me. So if you could just do that for me, I cannot even explain to you how grateful I would be. But yeah, the draw will be from either those projects registered there or just from a thread in the group. I will decide later. I will also decide later when to close the KAL, but you definitely have all of February to do it. I'm not gonna close it that quickly. I understand for a lot of you these will be your first colourwork mittens, so I'm definitely gonna give you enough time. And I'll kind of just judge it by how it's going in a thread to see when I should close it up. And you're free to enter as many times as you like. If you want to make 10 pairs of these mittens, by all means, you have 10 prizes, like 10 chances to win the prize, I mean. And you can double dip into other KALs, that's absolutely fine. So hopefully I made this clear. You have to make that pattern. You can make it as many times as you want. That will give you more like entries. And you have to register it to my, I said register, I don't know like how to express it. But if you go to my pattern on Ravelry, you can click cast on, then you have your own project page. And I strongly prefer if you had pictures there. That's like kind of the point. So yeah, I really hope that you will join. I hope that those of you, everybody who got the kits will do that. And again, just want to remind you to download your pattern with your code before it expires. So yeah, there's a discount code, of course. It will expire by the end of this month. So at the end of January, you have to pay full price, which is just £1 more. So it's not a huge difference, but you probably want to have, you know, excuse me, a 25% discount off. So just letting you know. I have actually skipped a work in progress. Partially because I forgot and partially because I want to discuss it in the context of selfish knitting. A lot of people have been discussing it lately. I know, you know, Danny of Little Bobbins has, Womanvine, Kirsten has, and also Shiny Bees, which is like the best audio podcast. One of the best, of course, there are many good ones. And episode 104 just talked about selfish knits and kind of how she felt about it. And I'm doing the Selfish Knit Along by Andi Satterlund, and I'm doing one of her cardigans. And that's what I want to show you before we get into my little thoughts about selfish knits. And this is my selfish knit, and we just have like a kind of weird vest going on right now. Can you make any sense of this? So this is the back piece. It looks awfully tiny, it's just because it's ribbed. So you got the back piece. The white thread is actually marking where I decided to do it a bit longer, so I wanted a bit more space under the arm, just because I like that. I like that this one has it. It looks funny, but it means I don't have to wash it every day, which is not ideal with wool. It's wet. And now I'm doing the short rows for the shoulders. I'm having some issues though, because the purl side of the wrap and turn when I'm picking up the wraps looks awful. You can see it here. It's really not nice. So if you have any ideas how to do that to make the purl side look nice, I'd be super grateful, because every tutorial I can find just show you how to make the knit side look nice, but here the purl's on the outside because it's a rib. So any advice, greatly appreciated. Just want to show you the front as well. So I completely forgot last episode to actually talk about this yarn. I talked about it in the context of my pussy hat, but not in the context of this whole thing, because I bought 9 skein. I'm just gonna put a picture here of colourwork, which is something I wanted to do forever, but it's not super cheap compared to, say, Norwegian yarns. But I kind of want to spoil myself because, well, birthday birthday presents don't buy themselves, you know. You kind of have to never mind. So yeah, colourwork, the colorway is Nightshade, and I was really hoping to find a red wine sap, but they didn't have it and they kept not having it, so I ended up going for this. And it's so pretty and it's so me. So I'm just hoping to finish this soon so I can do other cardigans, because I kind of want to make another cardigan for Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I don't know if that's something people do, but I want to do that, and maybe that's a good chance to finish my Satin Star yoke. It's hanging up here and it's been a yoke for some years now. It needs to be a whole cardigan. So yeah, I have lots of thoughts and worries about this, about size, about whether I made the armpit holes, like the whole armholes, too big, the short rows, picking them up. There's a lot of things that makes me nervous, but I'm trying not to let go of this, you know, to not stop knitting it, because if you do that it becomes a UFO. And I'm excited about having this finished. I'm excited about how quick it is, because I'm using worsted weight yarn. For someone who always does fingering weight cardigans, that's kind of a treat. Just finishing quickly, and it's really nice for lace, because there's lace all over, and I'm not a lace knitter, so for that to go relatively quickly is a treat. It's all just a treat. Definitely recommend this pattern by Andi Satterlund. but I want people to be aware that it knits up in a very different way to, say, other jumpers, maybe the ones that I'm used to, you know, the sort of yoke, and even like sewn-in sleeves is different from all that. You do a back piece, you knit from here to here at the back, and then you pick up the fronts, you knit them down here, and then you join them and you knit back and forth. Never done that before. It's very interesting and I'd like to try that again, definitely. Hate purling though, so I'd have to find a pattern that's like this one where things are very varied. Let's just get a close-up of the yarn. We all like looking at yarn, don't we? So this is Quince & Co. Lark. And I just have so many nice things to say about this yarn, because this is worsted weight and a 50 gram skein. Well, while it weighs 50 grams, it looks a lot bigger, so when you hold it, you're like, whoa, that was light. But it has 123, I think, meters in it. That's a lot for a worsted weight skein. Worsted weight yarn tend to not go over 100 meters per 50 grams. Usually, when a yarn approaches 100 meters per 50 gram, it's a DK weight. So, for this to be worsted, and it definitely is, it's going to be such a light cardigan, and that's, I've said previously, is my issues with knitting with chunkier yarns, that the garment becomes too heavy. Not the case here, absolutely not. I would recommend this yarn. It's not too different from Cascade 220. It has more softness, next to skin kindness kind of thing, and definitely is lighter, but if you want to go for a cheaper option, Cascade 220. So about selfish knits. I've kind of always liked the term selfish knits because I always thought about it as a kind of tongue-in-cheek thing. You know, it's... People accuse knitters of being selfish if they knit for themselves sometimes, and that's not right, because you're not being accused of being selfish if you do any other hobby of yours for yourself. You know, people who do sports, they don't do sport for anyone else. People who do music, you know, even if they just play to themselves, nobody is going to call them selfish. At least not to my knowledge, I don't do music. So it's been a bit sort of reclaiming the word kind of thing for me when you say, I'm doing selfish knitting now in the new year, you know? It's just because, well, if you're gonna call me selfish, I'm gonna call this selfish and I'm gonna own it, you know? But it's like a joke, it's not something I would say seriously. I would say I am a selfish knitter, because selfish is not a nice word, and that's kind of where I agree with the other podcasters who have been talking about this as well. So for people who don't want to use that word anymore because they didn't intend for it to be that way, I can understand that. But I wouldn't discourage it entirely. I think it's like a fun tongue-in-cheek thing. So where was I going with this? I think selfish knitting is a fun term, but I can understand the problems with it if you hadn't thought about it in those terms and you realize this kind of has these negative connotations to it. And I don't think knitters should be called selfish because they do their hobbies for themselves, because, as I've said before, the only person who's really going to appreciate the knitting as much as it's worth, as much time as it's taken, is you. Now I'm just going to change the batteries of my camera because it's blinking and we have a bit of a haul, and that's the last bit of this episode. So if you don't like hauls, then, you know, that's it really. But yeah, it's been my birthday, so we have a lot of things to cover. So where to begin? What did I even get first? It's been such a long time since the first stuff dropped in my mail that I don't even know. But the first thing, I believe, was when I won, I guess, the draw for the colourwork KAL by Marsha Fairy Little and Katie of Inside number 23, and I won the Marsha part of that. So Fairy Little had her own prize draw and Katie had another one, so they sort of, yeah. Anyway, I won the prize draw that Marsha had, and I got the prize in the mail just now. So there is other stuff in here, so I'm gonna have to, like, I guess improvise just a little, but okay, yarn out. This is what I got. Ah, look at that, look at that. This knitting bag is huge. When I looked at it in the Fairy Little episode where my, like, winningness was announced, then it looked fairly small, but then I got it, was like, this is big. It's big. It's gonna fit a jumper. When my cardigan outgrows that bag, I don't know if it will, but if it does, this one. Or maybe I'll just put my Find Your Fade KAL. It's a KAL, but the shawl. Maybe I'll just put the shawl in there because it's like very autumnal. Also, when I first like saw it on screen, I was like, these colors look a bit sort of extreme, and they are. But in real life, I love it. Because they blend more together than they seem to do on camera. It's this sort of just green brown mishmash. And it's not empty. I just want to say it's lovely. It's just perfect. It's a little, oh yeah, it's perfect. No complaints. Can't find any faults with this. It even has a little handle, and I love a handle. And it's also nice when the zipper comes from the bottom, because if you want to knit outer on it, you can hold it like this and it will like come out here, which is very thoughtful. But yeah, it didn't come empty. I got this tote bag, and I'm not actually opening it because I just want to show you just how neatly it's packed. So this is made from Knitting I Love. Forgot her name. I do follow her podcast, just slipped my mind. And I've got some things that she has made. So let's see if I get them far. It's a coaster that is also a gauge thingy. So I'm gonna put my Pepsi on it because, as I've said before, this podcast and my knitting completely fueled by Pepsi. Pepsi should sponsor this podcast. So I got this. This is a strange thing. I was like, what does this even do? It's apparently to hold your circulars. So even if it's on the project or you just want to have it in something pretty, put your needles in here, like swirl the cable around and attach it inside this button. Clever. And the other thing is, of course, a DP end holder. So you can just take this off, and then this flap will kind of open, and you put your needles inside. I tried it on like the one pair of DPNs that I have, but it's good. Now I have one for my one pair. They come in 5s, goddamn. Anyway, let's just take this off now. I want to actually look at this tote bag because I kept it like this for you. So very weak for the hard week. So it's a bit folded. I'm not like ironed it or anything. So yeah, knitting I Love bag. It's a nice, very orange tote bag. And you know, I actually quite prefer to put my knitting in tote bags from time to time. I don't need a project bag. Tote bags, just as good. It got really dark in here, didn't it? It's so foggy today. London is just covered in mist and it's freezing by London standards. If this was Norway, it would be a mild day. It's funny, this like little 5-degree difference between London and Norway. I would say anyway, that's the average. You know, if it's 20 degrees here, it's 15 degrees at home. If it's 0 here, it's 5- at home. If it's 5 degrees here, which is this today, it's probably like 0 in Norway. At least in Trondheim, where I'm from. It's different, of course, but depending on where you live, both in terms of north and south, and mountains are not, fjord or not, further away from the sea or not, lots of factors. And other things I got was this scissor, and this scissor is a lot heavier than it looks like. It's got like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I'm very happy about this scissor. It's an airplane friendly scissor, so you can actually bring it if you want to knit in an airplane. There, I think I fixed the light a little. And I got a bunch of teeny tiny buttons. Can I show you? So I don't know what to do about these buttons because they seem a bit too frail to actually like hold the garment. I'm not sure, maybe they're not. Maybe they're just small and sturdy. But they would be very nice decorated buttons for maybe a baby knit or something. And then I got a little card from Marsha. It's so cute, and it's going up on my postcard wall. I have a postcard wall. I'm going to show you in one episode. It's just full of postcards from friends on top, and then at the bottom, like in between, I get cards from like other podcasters and other people who watch the podcast, and then below that I have just lots of flyers from knitting events and from independent dyers and project bag makers and yarn producers in general, like just lots of knitting related stuff. So everything goes, and it sounds like I have a system to where they go now. I don't. They just generally fade from friends to knitting. And the bag is empty. I think that's all I got. I may have misplayed something and forgot that I got more, but it's just so nice to get project bags. That's can't complain. I'm trying to remember everything I got myself, but I got a blocking kit. I already told you about this. I'm gonna just cover this briefly. So this is just a bunch of T-pins. I kind of jokingly call them T-blockers, but that's kind of not what they are. They're T-pins that you block your shawls with and whatever, and they've been super helpful. They are way better than the little sewing pins that I've used previously. And I got these. These are called blockers, which is a bit of a vague name, but they're like this, and these are so handy because you can place more pins at once. Isn't that neat? I saw a tutorial on YouTube because I was like, do I really need that? They are not that cheap. They're not super expensive either, by all means. But I really had to like think, oh, I don't know, maybe pins and wires are enough, you know, and get some mats to put them on, because I feel kind of sorry for my carpet right now. It's not even mine, it's my landlord's. But then I found a website where every blocking thing from Knit Pro was on sale. So who am I to say no? So I added this as well as the T-pins and my mats and the blocking wires you have already seen, like they're back here in this. But these are my mats, and you get 9 pieces, and I thought that was plenty. Apparently it's not enough, as you've seen on the picture where I blocked my shawl. And it's like a giant puzzle with foamy things. I really like this, and it's by Knit Pro. This is all Knit Pro. Hashtag not sponsored. I trust Knit Pro in their projects. I've broken a few of them, to be honest. It's mostly been because their plastic wrapper like this, it's not very durable. They use that a lot and it's not durable, and their wooden needles are just a bit too frail for my tight knitting. But other than that, I really do trust their projects. They have never failed me, apart from these few exceptions, and they're very few compared to just how many Knit Pro projects I actually have and love. I guess it's only right that I announced that I actually also have another loop tote bag. They've been making bags with long like handles now instead of the little small ones, which is nice. And I have probably like 2 or 3 of these because I keep going to loop and it's dangerous. So I bought stuff. Thing is, this yarn, I've been telling myself I'm not gonna buy because that yarn is not gonna run away from me, and I'm gonna buy it when I'm gonna cast it on because I'm gonna be good, because I promised, and I promised you guys. But then the news broke that Skeindeer, however you pronounce that for there, they are being discontinued. The people who make the yarn, you know, they are getting retired, and someone bought the company now, I think, and they're not going to deliver to Loop anymore. So might as well buy it before it runs out. And I ended up finding where is it? I found 3 skeins of my color. This is like, you know, this brambleberry color I keep buying, and there were 3 skeins left of it, and I needed 3 skeins for the pattern I've been wanting to make forever. So before I talk about that pattern, let me just talk about this yarn, because if you feel it, it feels like a very nice cotton, which is odd because the fiber content is 10% baby alpaca, 10% baby camel, 40% angora, 40% merino lamb's wool. How did that become this? I can't even imagine. It doesn't feel like it's drapey at all, which is what I would expect from this, but maybe it's just a mixture of them all together that makes them into something I trust into making a shawl. That's what this is gonna be. And is there anything else I could say about this before going into the shawl? It's called Luxury 4-ply weight, by the way, and it's got 200 meters per 50 gram skein. So this is a 50 gram skein. It's roughly like 7-8 pounds at Loop, so if you want to get your hands on their yarn, they also have a DK weight similar to this, but if you want to get your hands on this yarn before it expires, it's not crazy expensive. Sorry, I'm being very enably right now. Yes, okay, so pattern. Let me just show you one more time. It's so pretty, and it's kind of tonal, just like, oh god, okay, anyway, the pattern comes from this book, which I also purchased. It's Loop's 10, their 10th anniversary book, and it has patterns from so many well-known designers. It's a treat. It's got a Stephen West pattern, a Kirsten Kapoor, let me just, Isolde Teague, Rachel Atkinson, Juju Vale, and the pattern I want to knit is Paulina Pobiolix. I can't pronounce things, but let me just see if I can find it. There it is. I see it. It's this orange shawl here, which has been hanging in Loop, teasing me. This very shawl, and it's so pretty. I even had to compliment the knitter and designer for this, because yeah guys, it's so nice and it feels so good. So if I can have that for myself, that's like, if I can make this shawl, I'm done with shawls. Like, that's all I want. It's called Autumn Leaf, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. I hold this shawl in very high esteem. So I don't know when I'm gonna knit it. I'm really itching to knit it right now, but I'm working on the Find Your Fate, and I'm gonna do Helen Stewart's Mystery Knit Along soon. So it's not gonna happen, and I know what shawl I'm gonna make after that, which I'm not gonna announce now because you know how bad I am at promising these things, but it's a Norwegian shawl, I'm just gonna say that. Oh, and I'm gonna use this really delicious Norwegian wool on it as well, which is actually skin friendly even though it's a pure wool. Okay, stop teasing, Ellie, stop teasing. Another thing I got was this notions bag from my boyfriend's parents. They sent me this in the mail. And it also came with these. I think these are from a magazine or something, but they're so convenient. It's like a sort of tink back crochet hook set. It's not primarily for crochet, it's for people who have dropped their stitches knitting and dropped their crochet hooks apparently. So yeah, just want to give you a close-up of this bag. I think it's really neat, very just simple. I just put my row counter here. I never use it, but it's decorative. So yeah, it's funny because the evening before I opened this present, I thought I really need a new notions bag. I was very happy about the really affordable ones I got from Tiger, but they're really difficult to close and they're kind of bursting now. So I need just something slightly bigger. And this is it. And it's got knitting thing and I just, oh yeah, very nice. And let me just show you the card I got. Look at that. Definitely going up in the postcard wall. I mean, it's not like there's like any criteria you have to meet to go up on that wall. Anything goes. Before I get into more of the yarn I have got now, which, you know, I feel the shame, but before we go into that, I want to show you something I got for Christmas from my sister. And it's an apron. Oh, I'm showing you the wrong way. Classic me. It's an apron in the Marius pattern. And if you know me, you know how much I love to bake. And so an apron in the Marius pattern, like that's the one thing I was lacking in Marius, really. I just put that back with the Marius pillow. Thank you, sister. So I have to go dig into my yarn stash now because I already put them in there. Definitely not going to cost money yet, I had to have them. So let me just show you. Okay, let's start with the squishes bits first. So this is from the same French people that we've talked about before. These amazing dyers in Paris. Look at this yarn. Again, this is one of those times where I'm like, I never used to like this yarn and I'm still very like skeptical of how this will knit up and if it's gonna be my thing. But I also trust in Helen to do it, and if she recommends this yarn for her new mystery KAL, and I have no idea what that's gonna look like because it's a mystery KAL, I'm gonna do that. And I'm so in love with this just the colorways that this dyer has. I want to try something a bit different, something a bit less me. So we're doing that. I'm going to dabble into speckled and variegated yarn entirely now. And it's a merino singles base. As I've said before, it's a base that lots of dyers use, at least in Europe. I know Hedgehog Fibers use them, and Countess Ablaze, probably others. So it's good to mix up, and if I could just get my hold of on a merino singles in a deeper red, my fade shawl should be fine as well. But yeah, very happy to receive these yesterday actually in the mail. So as some of you may remember, I got this yarn for Christmas. It's a lovely red skein by Countess Ablaze that my boyfriend's parents got me, and I was like, I want to colourwork it, but it's only one skein, you can't, and I don't like mixing fibers, so I need another of these skeins. And so I got one. I contacted Countess Ablaze on, oh, it's like on Instagram, because she was just talking about the English gentleman yarn she has, and I was like, oh, any chance you're gonna put up an undyed skein, because I got this lovely skein. And she was colourwork, and she was like, oh, well, I have one, I'm gonna put it on the shop. And this was on my birthday, so I ordered this for me on my birthday, which seems fair. So she put it on the shop for me. I quickly ordered it on my phone while I was out in the knitting meetup, of course, and got it. And it's surprisingly sort of grayer and whiter than I was expecting, if you look at it, because it's called oatmeal. It's not called, but it's like referred to as an oatmeal color. And if it's oatmeal, there's not a lot of brown in this. It's more grey for sure. I would have to look very hard on this before seeing any brown. So together, these will make wonders. I don't know what yet. Like, I want to do colourwork mittens, but they're also so soft that, you know, anything next to skin would be lovely as well. But God knows I will have enough shawls by the time I cast this yarn on. So let's just stick with the mitten plan, shall we? So just because I was ordering one skein, I figured let's just see what she's got in shop. And she's got a lovely red skein. And I can't say no to red either. Like, red and sort of deep purple brambleberry colour. Those are my two weaknesses. This is actually a bit of a tonal yarn. A bit, it's definitely. And it's a sock yarn in BFL. And so for someone who's trying to be better at socks, BFL for me. I trust in BFL. Blueface Leicester, that is. Merino socks, I'm skeptical. I would trust like Regia and those brands to do it, but the bases that a lot of hand dyers use, I'm a bit skeptical of. They might be good, but some that I've tried have not been. And it's not the dye's fault, like, they only colour the yarn, so it's the people who just put nylon in a merino yarn that isn't really that durable. But there are merino yarns that are durable for socks, of course. I've had experience with those and I can definitely vouch for that. But I don't want to take the risk. When I'm paying that much for yarn, I want to know that it's gonna last, and I feel like Blueface Leicester definitely does. It's got longer threads, longer fibers, so it doesn't peel that easily, which and I just love Blueface Leicester. I really do. I don't like it when it's too glossy and soft. Blueface Leicester, not itchy. Don't even dare call it itchy, but it's matte. It's not glossy. That's a weird term to talk about yarn, but that's kind of what I feel when I'm holding this. So this is Lady Persephone sock yarn. That's what she calls it. I already have 2 blue skeins of it as well, because yeah, I love it. And it's called Falling Oak. Oak to ooze. O's, not ooze. So I'm happy to say that's all the yarn. I'm not bought more, I promise. So yeah, I just want to summarize the sort of announcements of this episode. I want to thank you for your birthday wishes. I want to thank you for buying my mitten kit. I want to thank you for downloading my pattern. I also got some free ones if you don't want to pay for some. And thank you for being active in my group. I've had a lot of fun in the group lately and helping people out. That's really nice. And please do take part in the Mitten KAL. The lovely thing about these mittens is that I made them to knit up really quickly. They were initially made for a knitting class. I've written up the pattern completely different so that you should be able to do it on your own. It should really be enough, but you're still free to contact me for any pattern support. But yeah, it's perfect to have a go at as a beginner. That's what I was trying to say, because it knits up very quickly. And so if you do make any mistakes, which God knows I do all the time, it's not that much time you are sacrificing when you're going back. And we're done for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week, hopefully on Thursdays from now on. Bye!